What's going on, awesome people? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Leo, and in this quick little video, we're going to touch upon we're not going to touch upon, we're going to go into detail of what actually changes a stock price. So, I don't know if you had a chance to check out my other video, or you'll find it right here, pretty sure. Is it this way or that way? One of the ways, where I touch upon what a stock actually is. And I briefly mentioned that the stock price will change just based off just different circumstances. So in this video, I want to actually go into those circumstances to make you understand of what actually happens in the market when you see that price either goes in the green or in the red, and what are the external factors that are actually driving it up or down. So, you know what that means? We gotta get suited up and we gotta head outside. Let's get to it. Jesus Christ. Let's do this more maturely. So what affects the stock price? Well, the simple answer to that is supply versus demand. So the more people that want to purchase that stock, it's going to drive the stock price up. More people that don't want that stock, it's going to drive the price down. So let's talk about our first major indicator of what moves the stock price, and that is volume. I apologize. You know what? I am so sorry. I will not do that again. So what is volume? Volume is essentially the frequency of a stock that's being traded between hands in the people of the stock market, right? So if you imagine, if you will, I'm going to put this in like just simple terms. You buy an apple, right? And you buy that apple for $5. Now, people are like losing their minds over apples, right? And now the price of an average apple goes up to $6. So you know what you decide to do? You're like, bro, I didn't even eat this apple. I'm gonna straight up just sell it to somebody. So now you sold that apple to somebody and they bought it for $6. That means you made $1. But now that person that's hanging on to your apple, they're like, yo man, I'm sure that this apple's gonna go up in price, right? And now the apple goes up to $8. And now that guy is just like, dude, the apple's $8. I'm gonna sell it. And he decides to sell it to some other guy, and he buys the apple for $8. Out of nowhere, pandemonium hits. People don't like apples. They went back in time and they found Apple's tweets. And now everybody's buying pears. Nobody wants apples. Now Apple's prices go down to $1. It's crazy. People are dying. Now we got pears, right? So while you were buying your first apple, no one was buying pears, right? So what does that mean? The price stays stagnant. No one's purchasing it. It just has a set price. It's $5. It's whatever. There's no volume. There's no movement. There's no motion in the ocean. And low volume is a reflection of that. So when you see a stock and the volume is low numbers, and you're probably asking yourself, Leo, like what's a low number? Anything in the thousands, I would say, is a fairly low number of volume. Anything in the millions, now you're starting to get into the higher fluctuating stock movements. And you know where you'll see stuff like that? Is in penny stocks. So penny stocks are a good example of strong volume and volatility because their volumes are usually through the roof because the share prices are so cheap. So that's one way of how, let's say, volume affects the stock price. It's just how much is it being moved around by person to person, and that kind of just gets relative to the price. Usually the higher the price of the stock you go through, the lower the volume you'll see. Usually in relativeness. It depends on the company. Let's go on to our next indicator, and that is the company financial reports. So, let's talk about some numbers. Let's keep using our pear and apple example. So in this circumstance, let's talk about Pear Corp. Now, Pear Corp has been doing absolutely abysmal for the last couple of years, turning a negative profit. Why would you want to put your money in a company that is just not doing great? It's a lot more evident when companies continually release the quarterly reports and you see that there's been an increase in profits over time because they have the track record, and you say, oh, all right, this company clearly has their stuff together. They have an ecosystem. They have an idea of how their business is going to perform, and they keep turning a profit. So that's going to encourage investors to actually pour more money into that company, because if you know that the company is going to be doing well in the next coming quarters, in the next coming years, right, in the next coming decades, hopefully, people are going to pour their money in long term and hold out, right, because they know the company's going to do well. So financial reports are a major indicator of how well a company's price will do in the future. The better the company, the better the financial reports, people want to jump on that train and see it do well, and obviously ultimately turn a profit themselves. This next indicator is probably the biggest one thus far, and probably the biggest one on this list, but it's the one that kind of goes hand in hand with what the stock market actually is, and that's the economy. With the recent events of what this whole pandemic scenario that kind of overtook us in this last year, this well-oiled machine that has been going on strong for like the last 10 years, constantly wrapping up, has now gone to a complete stop in early March. People were working less. That means people were spending less. That means people were earning less. And when people are earning less, working less, spending less, the stock market's not going to be moving that much either. Because now if people are earning less, they can't spend their money on stocks or companies. And that means companies are not earning that much. So everyone's kind of in this whole downward spiral. Hence why it's called a recession, or even worse, a depression, because now we're on the downswing of things. So what did people do? People sold their assets. Get these stocks out of here, man. We need money right away. We need to buy masks and toilet paper and food and this and that and whatever. We need to live out here. The long story short is, if your economy is doing well and it's constantly increasing and things are moving and the machine's well oiled and people are working and people are not unemployed and actually earning and spending and this and that, your market's going to be a well oiled machine. Because as long as that money just keeps going like this in the magical machine called capitalism, we're going to be alright. Let's talk about something or someone that's very important to the company. Management. Warren Buffett to Berkshire Hathaway, Steve Jobs to Apple, Bill Gates to Microsoft, Elon Musk to Tesla. These are all individuals who have a reputable name for reputable companies, and you know who they are as much as you know the company, right? So, with that in mind, how does management affect the stock price? Well, a lot actually. Those people are the ones that make the decisions of where the company is going to go. So an example of a management change that I would use would be this year from IBM CEO change from Virginia Rometty to Arvind Krishna. Virginia Rometty stepped down in April after announcing that she was going to depart from IBM early in January. Now, when that news was announced, the stock price of IBM actually rose around 5%. So why did that happen? Why did the stock price rise? And why should we care? Well, if you take a look to past history of IBM's stock price, since Rometty has been in power, the stock price predominantly just leveled out. It didn't really move. It cycled through a couple of up and down cycles, but overall, in the course of 8 years since she has been in the CEO seat, the company hasn't done much. So a company like IBM, who has changed their management and have seen immediately a stock price increase when they announced that happening, people are excited for that decision. People are excited to see new leadership and see where this company is going to go. As an investor, it's a very exciting moment because you want to ultimately see your investment do well and ultimately see this company do well as well, right? So seeing that leadership being put into motion with somebody else that has a new vision for the company, considering that the last leader or the last person in that position of power wasn't doing much with the resources that they've been given, it's something exciting to see. It's these things to consider. What are the companies doing internally with their management team? Who's behind them? Who are the ones pulling the strings, pulling the levers in order to, you know, make this company the best version of themselves? When I'm researching a stock to actually purchase and investing into the company, I look up who these people actually are. Because if those are the people I'm putting my money into, I'm not putting my money into this unknown entity. I'm putting my money into somebody who's managing this business. And if this person's a Yahoo, like, I'm not going to benefit from them, and they're just going to benefit off of me. And I don't do business like that. And neither should you. So let's talk about lawsuits, another great indicator of how a price can go either up or down. So sometimes a company is under fire, and sometimes that company does the firing themselves. And most investors don't even bat an eye when lawsuits come into play. However, there's some rare occurrences where you need to pay attention. And one example I'm going to give, and you've probably heard of this company, and if you haven't, you're going to hear them today, Enron. Now, who or what was Enron? Enron was this energy sector company that got so riled up in fraudulent accounting practices that it absolutely demolished them. So here's what this article from Yahoo Finance reads, so take a look. Energy company Enron collapsed in 2001 after its fraudulent accounting practices came to light. Then in 2008, the company made history for being at the center of the largest settlement of U.S. securities fraud case. As part of the settlement, Enron shareholders and investors were entitled to split more than $7.2 billion from financial institutions. Accused of playing a role in the company's downfall, the settlement included payments of $2.4 billion from CIBC, $2.2 billion from JP Morgan Chase, and $2 billion from Citigroup. And this is from a CNN report. So that's absolutely crazy. So with Enron's, pretty much demise in the whole energy sector, that opens up the game for a lot of other energy players. So we got Shell, ExxonMobil, all these other different energy companies that exist. So now their stock prices are most likely going to go up because now that that other competitor is no longer with them, right? Investors have more of a selection to say, all right, who's going to be a top dog or the bigger dog in this market? Who's going to take some more profits? Who's going to build their businesses up further? Before we get on to the next indicator, I just want to say thank you guys for watching the video up until this point. It really means a lot to me. What would mean even more is if you can leave a like and hit the subscribe button. Warm my heart up just a little bit. But hopefully you like this video up until this point, and I'll definitely see you on the next one. So with that in mind, let's crush the next indicator. Let's get to it. So tying into our economy, lawsuits, and a bunch of other things that we've mentioned before, political climate is a huge one because depending on, let's say, restrictions on, let's say, tariffs or laws or war or something like that can greatly hinder or benefit a business depending on where it's at. Let's just take a step back to August of 2019 where Trump actually he put tariffs on China imported goods. In the article, BBC reads, the tariffs are likely to target a wide range of goods, from smartphones to clothing. A spokeswoman for China's foreign ministry warned the country would retaliate against the U.S. for imposing duties. If the U.S. implements the tariff measures, China will have to take a necessary countermeasure to resolutely defend the core interests of the country and its people. So as we can see from the article, there's a lot of tension that kind of rose because of, the U.S. wanted to implement these tariffs onto China. So that's just a minor example of how friction can be built between two different countries, and ultimately that's going to create a shockwave effect to other companies within the respective nations trying to perform businesses. It's important to keep up with the news and have a conscious understanding of, all right, with everything kind of happening in the world and the countries talking to each other, especially on a global scale, are the companies I'm invested in actually affected by said matter, or will they not affect me at all? It's not just this completely blind thing of like, oh, why is the market red today? Why is the market green today? These are some indicators that you can utilize to understand, oh, okay, this happened in the news, so this is probably the reason of why this company is moving in the direction it's in. So with that being said, everybody, that's the whole video. Hopefully you got something from it, and please make sure you leave a like and smash the subscribe button. We're here to help and build a community, and let's push forward together. Thank you. That's the video. Peace out.